Hi Scorpio, welcome to your December 2016 General Tarotscope. It's Rena here. You know what happened is that several days ago I tried to do your video multiple times. Eventually my memory card became corrupted and I have just gotten another card after several days, and I had all the cards laid out from that previous attempt, but even now I just had another snafu. So I'm just going to be doing your reading live, or taped live, just because maybe that wasn't right. Maybe that wasn't the right reading for me to do the right cards. Okay, but before I lay out the cards, I just want to tell you about a few transits in December that may be of interest to you, because they relate to a certain emphasis in your month. So for instance, with Scorpio, I would say your emphasis is on the third house of communication. Okay, because on the 2nd, Mercury goes into this house, and that's the ruler of that house, the natural ruler. So it's a very, very talkative time, and it could be internet, it could be letters, it could be phone calls, but also with siblings, because the siblings are connected to the third house, as well as extended family members. And also the third house can relate to your local area, so you may just be more involved with issues around town. And so that's on the 2nd, and then you're going to have a Mercury retrograde in this house. So Mercury retrograding in its own house. And I'm assuming, since it's at an early degree of Capricorn, that it will be going back into your 2nd house at some point in December. I don't have my ephemeris in front of me, so I didn't check that detail. But definitely when it's retrograding in the 3rd house, you may hear from somebody from your past, and you might hear from them online. So maybe your high school sweetheart, maybe just a friend that you haven't talked to in 30 years, and somehow you find each other. Sometimes with Mercury retrogrades, you hear from people from your past. So then on the 21st, you're going to have the Sun in this house, and that can lend just general positivity, creativity, shedding a light on this particular area. It could be, just a time when you feel ideas about maybe how you want to communicate. If you're an artist or writer, this is really great for that, because the Sun can be a very creative force. And then there's going to be a new moon there on the 29th. So that can be a new beginning in the 3rd house of communications and, siblings and things like that. Now, I will say that this new beginning is happening at a time of Mercury retrograde. So it's not necessarily a time, if you can launch, you might want to take a chance and be a little bit superstitious and wait until after Mercury goes direct. And I believe that's around January 8th, just to be on the safe side. Or if you have some contract to sign or something that you have to do, just make sure that you're looking over it more. Venus is going to be in this house for the first week of the month. And so again, it could bring love, through the internet. And even love from, a past love, that you communicate with in some way. Mars is going to be in the 4th house of home and family until the 19th. Now in the 4th house, it can make things a little bit contentious. The month of December is a time when there's Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa, and maybe even some other holidays that I'm not aware of. So getting together with family is not uncommon, but with that Mars, you never know. You want to make sure that you're not the one that's starting things. And then Mars goes into the 5th house of romance on the 19th. And the fifth house can also be recreational sex, and Mars can also be about libido in addition to how you act. So, you know, that can be a very sexy transit, but it's funny because Scorpio is always like considered this highly sexual sign, and I think it's more that you guys take sex seriously. So it could very well be true that there are more celibate Scorpios than any other sign, because you're very choosy. And so, you know, if you take something seriously, you're not going to just do it with anyone, right? So that could actually work in the exact opposite way. So let me think if there's anything else. Oh, well, I was going to say that Venus goes into the fourth house of home and family in Aquarius on the 7th of the month. And so that can smooth out any rough edges that were caused by if you did get into it with somebody. And that can bring harmony. It can bring money. So anybody who's selling their house, you know, it might be a time when you see it gets sold, or maybe you're beautifying your house, because Mars in the fourth house can actually be renovation. So maybe that just shows that you're finished with the renovation and now your house looks beautiful. The other thing too is that there's going to be a full moon in Gemini on the 13th of December. And this is going to be in your 8th house of intimacy. It's your natural house. So sex, death, and other people's money. Your spouse may get a raise. Well, we hope, you know, full moons can bring endings. So we hope your spouse doesn't lose their income, or that, you know, there's a death around you, because the full moon can be endings, and then the 8th house is the house of death. But I think that the greatest possibility, or the most interesting possibility, is the idea of personal transformation, because the 8th house, because it's ruled by Pluto, which is one of your rulers along with Mars, it can be the house of transformation. And so with a full moon there, it could be the death of the old self. And, you know, maybe you decide that you're going to totally do a reboot, you know, have a detox, a physical detox, but then it's also an emotional detox and a spiritual rebuilding. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to do a clarification card. Oh, look at the clarification. Well, that really is... I'm going to keep that, because there's nothing wrong with the Tower card. The death... The Devil card is a little bit different, because it's a card where there might be a feeling of like, you know, like you're entrapped by something. So that's not really a good ending. It doesn't really give the kind of clarity. So that's why I picked another card, and then I picked the Tower card. So definitely a lot of major arcana. Look at this. How many cards did I pick overall? I picked 8. And how many major arcana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 8. That's very, you know, amazing, because there's only 22 major arcana cards out of 78. So you can do the math. You can see that the ratio is pretty high. So December could be a transformative month for some of you. And, you know, maybe this is why I had to do this spread over again, because that other one wasn't, you know, really correct. But the overall theme is the Wheel of Fortune. This is, you see the person falling off, and you're on the top. So you're having a good run of things. And, okay, where's your Jupiter? This is a card of Jupiter. planet of luck and expansion. Your Jupiter is in the 12th house right now. So that's a spiritual placement for Jupiter. You know, for the next 11 months, you have expansion in the area of spirituality, mysticism, I would say. And really just kind of going through everything that repressed memories, repressed, you know, experiences, that you benefit from doing that. But in general, beyond that, you know, you may be well aligned with your life at this time, and so everything may be going very well. I would also connect this with Sagittarius, since Jupiter rules Sagittarius. For some of you, maybe you're involved with one, but even in your career, you may be having a really good run of things, or in your life in general. In the past position, we get the Six of Swords. So you've left something behind. Some of you have made that choice. Maybe you haven't like physically done it, but you've made the choice in your mind that you don't need that drama in your life. Sometimes, you know, because swords relate to thoughts, it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical relocation. Although that card can relate to physically moving. But that decision has led you to be aligned, and so things are going much better for some of you. You may have gotten away from, or are planning to get away from, an air sign, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and some of you may even be getting divorced. The Justice card can be like an actual legal decision regarding that. And if that's the case, that may be the best thing for you. It definitely would be something that some of you, I'm sure you have thought long and hard about. Maybe you did not want to do it, but you realize that getting away from that person, maybe the Six of Swords indicates a legal separation. And then you decide, yes, I'm going to get divorced, because you see the Wheel of Fortune tells you that your life has expanded and that you feel so much better. And this is so true. I've had it demonstrated to me time and time again that when we make that decision that we're not going to allow whatever circumstances that are visible to us to inform our decisions, that we don't get in that fear-based mentality, that things tend to really expand for us. And I've had this happen more than once, and it's such a freeing feeling, because, and especially for a Scorpio person, you are a fixed sign, so you're not somebody who just readily changes. You tend to like to have that certain constancy in your life, and it can feel very unnerving when you're going into a new phase, a new life direction. It can feel very uncomfortable to a fixed sign. The higher message is the Hierophant. So it's about the traditional values. For some of you, you may have gotten involved with someone who was not spiritual, and you weren't on the same page. Or maybe you have been, kind of too worldly, and you're realizing that you need to really get in touch with your spirituality. And as I say, with Jupiter there in the 12th house, that you may have some opportunities come to you regarding something. Maybe it's a course of studies, it could even have something to do with a profession that deals the healing arts, anything like that. And you take a totally different direction in your life. The Hierophant can also refer to any of the, it could be higher learning, but it can be, marriage itself. So what I said was, some of you may have sought out a divorce, and the Hierophant is saying, you know, that there's these there's like these what do you call them, structures in our society that give us a sense of safety, security, and sometimes we lean on them. But it's funny, you know, I think we have to be careful that we don't get too caught up in the outer structure, you know, and sometimes I feel like the Hierophant can be a card of conforming to others' expectations or society's expectations. And so even though this is showing up as a higher message, I think in this particular instance, it's more along the lines of, you know, seeing the bigger picture in all of this. If you did leave a situation. For some people, you may have had some kind of break from a company. Maybe you're going on your own, or maybe you won a, what do you call that, like a golden parachute? I don't know what they call that. I can't think of that word. Where you get like a severance package or something. And maybe you even had to seek out the justice system in order to get this, or, you know, the mediation. Because if you left a place of employment that was unsuitable, you may have found that you've been much better on your own, even though it may have been scary to leave. And so the higher message is simply saying that you have to, you know, always consider the spiritual dimension when you're, even when you're dealing with, you know, a career matter, because that can give you that added perspective. One of the biggest ways that I would say you could use this is if you're somewhere where you're unhappy, and yet it's tempting because of the money, that you ask yourself, you know, what is money in the grand scheme of things? Can I take one penny with me when I leave this earth? And when you start to like really, you know, bring it back to a macro perspective, you begin to realize that more and more that your happiness has to be the ultimate gauge of what you do, and not, you know, material concerns. Because and the funny thing is, the irony is that when you follow your bliss and go towards that which makes you happy, the Wheel of Fortune is right there, and it will reward you for, you know, there's a book called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And it's that kind of a principle. Okay, let me do this, because this is and I actually picked this card in your first reading in a different position. But this is a challenge position, which is not really much of a challenge. The Sun card is one of those cards that's called the Yes card. It's a card of like whatever you've been wanting, the answer is yes. Now it can relate to, because the Sun rules the 5th house, Leo is the 5th house. It can relate to love. It can relate to, so I said you're going to have Mars in the 5th house. Maybe that's when you're going to have something come up for you when Mars goes into the 5th house. But it could be simply that you're experiencing a partial success in something that you've done. Like maybe there's something that still needs to be done in a career matter. In your personal life, it could be that you have fallen in love, but there may be other things that keep the two of you from being able to be together right now. You know, that happens as well. Let's say you fall in love with somebody at work and they're married. You have to wait for them to get divorced. And, you know, that Justice card, maybe that isn't you that's getting divorced. Maybe you're waiting for someone you've fallen in love with to get divorced. It could indicate that there's a Leo person who is creating problems for you, complicating her life in some way, being in the reverse position. The advice is the 5 of Pentacles. In this particular card, as an advice card, I think is more speaking of checking your I was going to say consciousness, but I meant your thinking process. Like, are you the type of person that believes that there's not enough? This is a card of lack consciousness. Check that tendency, because that could be interfering with that sun card being not in the upright position, that you think about the sun, you think about Jupiter, the ruler of that Wheel of Fortune, or connected to that Wheel of Fortune card. These are big, big heavenly bodies, right? So their energy is very expansive. The sun is a very expansive force. But in that challenge position, it's been constricted in some way. And it could be because of your way of framing things, of seeing the glass half empty. And, for some of you, there may be an earth sign individual who is part of this. But I'm thinking that this person may be a Capricorn, because in the outcome, the Devil card is connected with Capricorn. So this might be somebody who's problematic, because the Five of Pentacles is not a positive card in a lot of ways. Now the Five of Pentacles can also talk about being, not being too materialistic, and this can too. So again, whatever it is that you're doing, if this is a business thing, please, when you're deciding what to do, do not make money the focal point, or you will feel a sense of limitation. But the Devil card can be, in addition to Capricorn, can be talking about being ensnared by something. And it would be some kind of a desire. Sometimes, compulsive behavior. So sex is obviously one, but some substance abuse issues, addictions. And what was interesting, and why I decided not to pick a third card for the outcome, because I picked the Tower and I thought, oh gosh, here are these two cards. These are pretty intense cards. But I think a Scorpio person can handle it. What I think, the Tower card represents is instant liberation, which really, I think, in a lot of ways, is the best thing, for people who find it hard to let go of something. Sometimes the universe will help you along if they think that you really need to let go of something. I've had that in my own life. Now, this is obviously just my theory, but that's how I feel about it. And so something may just suddenly happen. Now, it could be just an insight that you have that makes you aware that you need to change, and you're able to do so without any hassle whatsoever. But for some people, it may be an event, an outer event that comes along that makes it so that, like, for instance, if you are with somebody that is problematic, is not a good fit for you, and yet you find it hard to break away from that, it could be that the person leaves of their own accord, or somehow it's worked out that they're not in your life anymore. And it's for the best if it's happening. If we all say it's all good, and we don't, look at certain things as, oh, this is a loss, so it's automatically bad. If you look at it in a good way, it can be perfectly fine. It's just that it may be a very sudden thing, and you may feel like, whoa, But let me just I will pick up the card at the bottom of this deck. Okay. This is Seven of Pentacles. I feel like the Seven of Pentacles in this reading, if you're doing something on your own, some of you may be doing a job that's kind of on the side because you don't like what you're doing, but you're afraid to go out with it. And maybe, some of you will find that the universe will bring you that chance to make that job your primary focus. And the Seven of Pentacles is saying have patience with whatever you're doing, that it's taking time. So it's funny, it's a stark contrast to the Tower card, which is about sudden endings or sudden revelations. There's a real gradual vibe coming from the Seven of Pentacles, and it could relate to an earth sign. Taurus, like I said, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Maybe there's somebody that you need to have a bit of patience with. Maybe they are going through a lot. Maybe these cards are more for them than for you. And you need to kind of they're like a diamond in the rough, but you caught them at the wrong time, which is why you have the Sun in reverse. Maybe the timing isn't quite right, but maybe they are going to let go of something that no longer serves them in a very quick manner, and then they will be the kind of partner that you can really be with. Or maybe even who knows, maybe if they are still married, the other person will suddenly file the papers, and both of you will be gobsmacked that this happened, not knowing that it was all divinely ordained. And so then you can be together at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, I suppose. In any case, Scorpio, I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, I link my website below this video. Otherwise, have a great December. Bye.